my good friend, Harry. Looks like he's on here. I'm gonna bring a pin up, get rid of my pin. Hello, my friend, how are you?
Hello, everybody hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm here. Everybody ready?
you got anything to show us?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody ready?
We're ready.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Okay. Can you see my hands?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Do you want to make the camera a little bit lower, Harry?
yeah. Hang on.
Maybe just a little bit? Yeah.
A bit lower.
Yeah.
Hang on. How's that?
I think
that any
that's better. What do you think? Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Now, Steve had an auction, I guess last week or the week before last, and he put a gondola car that I did in there. And it performed well beyond my expectations. So with that in mind, and I don't know what you guys want to see, but apparently you wanted to see the gondola car. So this week I have a Swift Reefer that I'm going to do like the gondola car. Now, as we know, Swift was a meat packaging house, or is, I guess they still are. And so it's a meat reefer. Now, this is part number Lionel 6-17354. 6-17354. This is a Lionel Swift meat reefer, scale, ultra scale. Okay, so what kind of things would I do to it, to a car like this? Well, let's start from the inside and work out. This is the underbody here. This is the chassis. I've taken the trucks off and I painted the floor with Rust-Oleum camouflage. Hang on, let me get that for you. Camouflage tan. This is what I painted that floor with. Next thing I did, I got this, my trusty Hunter line stain, and I'm going to go in and I did most of them already. I'm going to stain the floorboards. Got to be like your grandkids and keep the stain between the lines. So here we go. This particular color stain that I'm using is Hunter line medium brown. Hunter line medium brown. Okay. You don't have to do the whole car because you can't see it because the doors are so small on a reefer car. We're going to get to that in a minute. Okay, so there's a bunch of stained floorboards. And now I'm going to take gray, Hunter line gray. And I'm going to stain the rest of the floorboards that are visible. Three, there we go. There, and there. Okay, now, you might wonder what those bolts are sticking up out of the floor. And we're going to get to that in a minute. These are socket head bolts. I have drilled about a number 60 hole, and then I've tapped it with a number 256 tap. There's a number 256 tap and I put threads in that hole with this tap. Okay. And this is a number 256 bolt on the end of this Allen wrench, Allen screwdriver. And the reason I did that was so that I could attach the meat to the car. And these sides of beef are, I believe I got them from K-Line. Hang on. Here's an unpainted one here. And I drill a hole right there and stick this rod. This is a piece of piano wire. Now, how did I make these round eyelets at the bottom of the piano wire? And I'm going to show you how I did that, I think, with my special magic pair of pliers. Hang on. I'm sorry, I thought I had them over here. These are special pliers. If you look at the ends of these pliers, they're both round, perfectly round. They're not like these needle nose pliers that have a flat. So where do you get these? You get them from Hobby Lobby. That's where I got them, from the jewelry department. They're made for making jewelry, but they also will take piano wire, which is this stuff here. And this particular piano wire is, we'll measure this thing out here, 26 thousandths piano wire. And I'm going to take this piano wire and make a perfect loop with these special pliers. Turn it around like that and then loop it back like that. And there's the eyelet. Okay. And that's the same eyelet that I have right here. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to screw it into this first tapped hole. In it goes. In it goes. Now here's another 4 sides of beef. No, I painted these, by the way, with, where's my paint? Oh, here it is. This is Scale Coat Tuscan Red. You could also use True Color Tuscan Red. That's the color of the meat. And then the fat and the ligaments and cartilage, I just left them the resin color. So you can see it's got, yeah, it kind of looks like meat to me. So we're going to stick this one over here. And there's going to be 2 of them on there. Inside the car. Now, the way they kept this stuff cold was with ice. They had block ice, which they shoved in through the roof, which I'll show in a minute. And then they had what was called top ice. And that was ground up ice chunks, which they would blow in with a large hose through the door and cover everything. Now, this is ice. This is rubber mold. And I made a pattern for I made clay blocks of ice. And this is what I got after I poured them. And what I used for the ice was this stuff. Smooth on, crystal clear part A and part B. It is, where is that? It says it on here somewhere. 100 part A, which is, let's see, is A, 100 of these to 90 of these. So it's 10 to 9. It's not 1-to-1 mixture ratio. You pour it out, mix it up, then I pour it into this mold. I spray some mold release in there first. And here's my ice. Now, if you over pour the mold a little bit, that gives you flash around the ice. And the good thing about that is it looks like the ice is melting. And so we're going to stick a piece of ice right here. Okay. And I'm going to hold that ice to the frame or to the underbody with micro crystal clear. This stuff looks white, but in an hour's time, it'll dry clear and you won't be able to see it. You can also glue windows into your cars with this stuff. If you ever have to glue a window into an engine or a freight car or a passenger car, you use this stuff. It comes on white, but it'll dry clear. So I'm going to give this a nice coat of this stuff here. Okay, micro crystal clear, product number, I don't know, it doesn't say, M19, Mary Igor 9, micro crystal clear from same company that makes micro scale decals. And we're going to put him right there. Okay. And then I'll stick another one over here for extra measure. Another piece of ice over here. About there. Do it the same way. Micro crystal clear. Just glob it on there. Stick him right down here. Lift it up and put it on. Okay. So there is that. So we got some ice. We got some sides of beef. And there's supposed to be a water squirter here, but it's not. Hang on for 1 second. Okay, here's my water squirter. And I'm going to blow off the, it's water soluble. So you clean your brush with water. So I'm just spraying this stupid thing with water to clean it. So there you go, there's my brush. And the water squirter will go down here. Okay. Now, that's pretty much what I'm going to do to the inside of this car. I'll bend him straight. Oh, yeah. I got a little figure to put in there. Right here. I think it's a Woodland Scenics figure that a friend of mine picked up for me of a worker. And I'm going to stick him in here like this, pushing those sides of beef apart. There you go. How's that look? And we're going to fasten him down with some micro crystal clear too. I'm going to put him a little bit closer between the, so you can see him better through the door of the car. So I'm going to put him out here. There you go. There. So I'm going to take this, any place where, whoops, I'm not, he's too far out. That's going to hit the side of the car.
Harry, is this from the packing plant or from the receiver?
That's a really, I assume that these would come from the Southwest, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, wherever they grow cattle. And I guess they would bring the cattle up to Swift, which would be in, I don't know, Illinois, Missouri. I don't know where the Swift plants are. You guys would know. You Midwest guys would know better than I do. And they would dress the meat and then send them like this, I guess, to Chicago maybe. And they would cut the meat up and pack it, maybe send it east. I don't know. That'd be a good job for somebody to look up. I just know how to make them. I don't know where they come from. So we're going to
I
put him
think
in
it
there.
is Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago had the stockyards years ago where they processed the beef, cut it up there.
And Berwyn's recently did a custom run on Swift cars. And he's doing a lot of Chicago stuff.
Okay, well, there's the interior. Now, there's one more interior part that I think this should have, which is, I talked to Steve about it earlier, and I want to put some lights inside this car because you can't really see all the detail once this is in the car and the door is closed. So I'm going to put him here. Now, here's the car itself. I've already started. Whoops. Not yet. I just knocked my own ace out the door. Hang on. There. Put him there. Okay. Now, this is the car itself. So what would I do to this car to detail it? Well, as you can see, it's been weathered. Now, refrigerator cars get weathered a special way. Notice how there's so many white stains near the hatches. Does anybody know why that is? Any ideas?
Salt stains.
Yes. Yeah, the ice, they use brine to make the giant ice blocks because it freezes at a lower temperature. So it keeps the food colder longer. But when it melted and it ran down the car, it would blanch it white. Okay, that's exactly right. Now, this car came with what's called a Blawnox roof walk. You can kind of see it right here. It was a perforated roof walk, but I don't like Blawnox roof walks. I like wooden roof walks. So I converted this. And the way I did it was with pieces of 1/32 by 1/8 basswood. And I stained them. And then I did it all except for this one piece because I wanted to show you how to do it. And I'm using Walther's Goo. And I'm going to attach this piece to the roof to complete it. So there it goes onto the roof. Now, it's still not done because how did they fasten that? How did they fasten that wood to the roof? They probably used carriage bolts. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's little holes with rust on them, which represent where the carriage bolts were. And the way I did that was I took a drill, which I have in my hand. I got a big drill here. I would use a smaller drill normally. And I'm going to drill little tiny holes in here on top of each one of these cross members, which is where they would attach them. Okay. There and there. Okay. So now there's 8 little tiny holes. I don't know if you can see those or not, but there's 2, 4, 6,
Yeah.
8. Okay. Now, in those holes, man, I'm not doing a good job here tonight at all. I thought I had all this stuff laid out. Hang on one second. Okay. This is, it doesn't matter what color you use. I've got some brown oxide true color paint. It is number 82, but any rust, boxcar red, any of those colors will work. I'm going to dip it in there and I'm going to put a dab on each one of these rust spots. Okay. Cover up the bare wood like so, and then just rub them off. And when it dries, it'll look like a rusty spot. Okay, so there is the roof. Now, when these cars were made, they didn't have fiberglass. So the way they insulated them was they had plugs on the roof hatches and they had plugs on the doors. I made these plugs. They're made out of 3/32 square basswood. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. I glued them together, cut them to the right length. Okay, and then I glued them to the door. Here's one right here. I haven't attached this one yet. Now you have to make sure that they're thin enough and small enough that you can close the door. Okay, and you bevel the top edge, the side edges, and the bottom edge 45 degrees. I do that on my belt sander. And so there is a plug. This piece of masking tape is holding the truck mounting screws. That's why there's a piece of masking tape in there. But I had to pull the trucks off. Okay, so I take the plug and I glue the plug from the inside with the door closed. Why do I do that? Because if I glue it with the door open and it's off center, the door won't close. So if you glue it with the door closed, you know the door is going to open back up again, like so. Now, the biggest fault I have on these cars, and they are very, very nice cars, don't get me wrong. All these hand grabs are individually added. The brake rigging's added. The underbody's got detail. The trucks are really nice. They're sprung. These hatches are excellent. But these doors are supposed to swing 180 degrees and open all the way up. And they don't. Now you can make them go a little bit further, about that much further without breaking them. Which means you can't run your train with the doors open, which kind of defeats the purpose of the whole job. Now, what you can do is if you want to run them with the doors open, you can bring the doors all the way open and then just either put a dab of glue on it to hold it to the car or put a little bolt through it. If you want to leave the doors all the way open. So that's what the door looks like when it's detailed. And then when you put the underbody back into the car, it looks like that. That's what it's going to look like. Now, we're still not done. The very last thing that I did was I added tack board decals, which I had made up. This one says Destination Rigby Yard. I have no idea where the hell Rigby Yard is, but Jim made these for me. And there they are. And I have one left to do, which I saved for you guys. So I take the decal, here's the decal here. And soak it down. Now I also have one other special decal. These are micro scale, old time graffiti. Okay, this decal set right here, micro scale. It's an HO set. It's 87-243. And these are old time graffiti, not that big stuff they use today that covers everything. Is what you'd see on a car like this, okay? So I'm going to put the tack board on first. And there goes the tack board decal, I think. Okay, now I'm going to soak this. I'm going to soak these graffiti decals real quick. Now, with a car like this, you want to use white or yellow. They got white, yellow, red, and black decals on this sheet. And they were done by chalk in the old days. They didn't have spray paint. So the graffiti artists would use chalk. to write on the cars. White, yellow, or red. And I guess the other colors too, I don't know. But so we got some white ones and some yellow ones here. And they say interesting stuff on them. And I'm going to give these a quick splash. And while I'm waiting for them to get cold, wet, I spoke to Steve earlier, and I'm going to try to get trucks, freight car trucks that have rollers on them. And I know they made them because I had some Vision Line box cars in here about a month ago, and they had that huge ass boom box in there. They had rollers and they were just freight cars. So I know Lionel makes them. And I'm going to put lights in this thing. I'm going to put a couple lights across the roof inside so you can see all this interior detail, because you can't really appreciate it without, I mean, you can see it, but you can't. Okay, so here comes the first. There's the first decal that says rock rules, disco sucks. All right. And so we're going to stick that on here. Squeegee it. And then we got one here that says, I was here. I was here, it says. Okay. And then this one here says, guess who? We'll stick him down here. And this one says, Charlie and Virginia. I'll put him right here. So now we got graffiti. Now I'll set this graffiti using Solvaset. And then when the Solvaset dries, I'll come back and shoot it with flat clear to seal all these decals onto the car. And there it goes. So this is a upgraded Swift Reefer car. To summarize, what I did was I put a new roof walk on it. I detailed it per a refrigerator car. I stretched the doors a little bit to open them further. I added tackboard decals. I stuck insulating plugs on the inside of the doors. And one last thing, one very last thing is, which is kind of an important thing, is top ice. I'm sorry, is block ice. Okay, so if I open these up, you look in there, there's a piece of ice in there, but not there. And this one's got two pieces of ice that I glued in earlier. So to complete this thing, I'm going to take this piece of ice right here, and I'm going to use Walther's goo. And the reason I'm using Walther's goo is because if I use super Zap-A-Gap or Zap, and any of that stuff gets on the hinge of the roof hatch is permanently closed. And that's not what we want. So goo gives you a fighting chance of keeping that hatch working. So I got that in my long nose forceps, and in it goes. And there you can see it glued in there. And so that'll set up in a few minutes. I'll leave it upside down. So that's the shell of the car. Again, these are microscale decals, 87-243, and these are old time graffiti. as opposed to the newer graffiti that I put on big cars, new cars. These are interior details. I painted the floor with Rust-Oleum camouflage tan. I drilled and tapped 4 holes. I painted sides of beef. I made racks to hold them. I added a figure and added two blocks of ice. And that's the interior detail. I also added tack board detail to the exterior of this car. So it's a bunch of stuff, really. And that's how I do a first class reefer. Now, I'm going to turn my thing back over here. There I am. Now I'm going to take it back here again. Okay, I have one more thing to show you that I'm working on right now. I thought it's a show and tell, and these are Louisville and Nashville passenger cars. These are Steve's Atlas cars. And in my humble opinion, this is the best paint scheme that I've had. I just sent out a Illinois Central this afternoon, to the Missouri Pacific last week. And this is what I'm doing 3 sets of these cars. So, does anybody have any questions?
Harry, those cars look fabulous. When you put the new roof walk on the Reefer, did you take the old one off? Or you just left it there and glued to it?
Yeah, well, usually I take it off, but Lionel made this one so perfectly thin that I could use a 1/32 basswood, real wood, and it looks real. So I didn't take it off in this one. Now,
Yeah, it looks great.
I had a reefer in here earlier today that had a plastic roof walk that was way too thick. That would have to come off to put a wood roof walk on there. Any other questions? Anybody have anything or comments or?
Now, Harry, you did that for a customer, or is that a future auction item for Steve Nelson?
This one's going to go to a gentleman by the name of Stephen Nelson, also AKA Mr. Muffin. Hopefully he'll take it and put it on his next auction.